happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast. A little different episode for you today. The rest of the boys aren't here, but I am joined by Joe, who is a crypto specialist and is from Nephos. Joe, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. People may ask, why are we sat here talking to a crypto expert on the Park Lane Podcast? Well, it's to talk all about the new partnership and controversial partnership in some people's eyes regarding the partnership between Tottenham Hotspur and Socios. So before we get into it, for anyone new to the channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Do not forget to hit the like button as well. And if you have any questions for Joe, you can hit them in the comment section and we'll reach out to him in the future and get some answers for you. So, Joe, let's get straight into it and talk the very basics to start with. So, for those that kind of don't know anything about this partnership, we want to kind of start off by talking about Socios in general. Can you give me kind of any information on this company and what they do?
Yeah, so Socios effectively, the simpler way to think about it is to forget crypto initially and just Socios are a normal kind of centralized business, right? They're an entity that has shareholders and owners, and what Socios, and they're the kind of marketing arm, if you like, of what's called the Chili's blockchain. So the Chili's blockchain is then where these fan tokens are minted onto, and we can get onto what that means in a minute. But yeah, Socios as a business, they're a kind of your normal kind of business. They're a kind of sports company that want to bring fan engagement and and things like that to normal people, so that you don't have to own shares in a club to be able to interact. So that's their plan, is in all different sports and all different walks of life to bring engagement to fans.
Okay, interesting. And let's go even further back to basics for a lot of people and talk about the kind of general what is cryptocurrency, right? You are a crypto expert. Your company specializes in cryptocurrency. So can you give us kind of very basics of what is cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so the fundamental thing behind cryptocurrency is that it's a digital kind of virtual asset which is held on something called a blockchain, which I'll come back to in a second. And cryptocurrencies use what's called cryptography, which is where the crypto part comes in, which is a kind of mechanism to verify and make sure that transactions are accurate, are correct, there's no fraud, etc., etc. But one of the largest parts that a lot of people within crypto like is that it's a decentralized network. So by that means it's not owned by any government or bank or large corporation. It's a platform that is owned by the users for the users, if you like. So that's the reason. And the largest cryptocurrency out there is Bitcoin. So anyone that has any inclination about what crypto is has probably heard of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's been around since 2008, 2009, something like that. A blockchain, if I can just quickly touch on that, because I've mentioned that twice now already. Think of it as like a digital book of records. So it totals up all the transactions individually, and it makes sure that there is only one copy of that transaction anywhere. So you can't pay someone twice, or you can't record the same transaction twice, or anything like that. And computer systems effectively transact this blockchain, and they maintain this blockchain. And it would require the whole blockchain to collude together, basically, in order to break the system. So there's a lot of security within that system. So yeah, the simplest way to think of it is a digital currency that's held on a kind of computer-based system.
Okay, interesting, definitely. And I know a lot of the people that will watch this video will be amongst some of the people who are very, very, very skeptical of these things. So I'm not going to go into kind of the politics of Spurs at the moment, but anything that happens within the football club is scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb. Actually, you are a Manchester United fan, so you
didn't know if you were going to admit to that or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you know what it's like to have your owners scrutinized, especially with the Glazers in charge of Manchester United. But a lot of people see this just another step within Tottenham Hotspur of looking at ways to screw over the fan base. A lot of people look at this is going to make money for the owners and is going to be no benefit, actually could be detrimental to the fans on the basis of the, how high and low these cryptocurrencies can go. What would you say to those people that have that skepticism?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's like anything that you don't understand or you don't know or is new. You always have that skepticism. You always worry, is this something that's going to be good or bad for me? And like you say, I can't talk about the politics of Tottenham. I don't know enough about the club to comment on that. But I personally am disappointed that Manchester United don't have one of these, because I would like to be able to, actually try it out in the real world of, how's this going to work in terms of voting on club decisions. I did used to hold a couple of other tokens. I can't remember which clubs now, maybe Juventus and maybe someone else. And they did these kind of silly little gimmicky things like, our bus to the next game, what colour should it be? Or, what training kit do you like? This one, or this one. So they were kind of gimmicky things. And the benefit to this is when these votes, so imagine that we say now that the next episode of your podcast, fan tokens can vote on who the host is, and there's 3 different people to host, right?
Yeah.
If those votes came into you manually, you could rig it. You could lie and say that the vote was different to what it was, etc. Whereas these votes are on a blockchain, so once they're on that blockchain, you can't change them; they're there forever. So the one positive, I guess, or real positive with that is, if you do want change, and the club, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is the be all and end all, but if you do want change and the club allow you to get that change from this fan token, there's huge transparency around what that decision is. So in that sense, you could see a real benefit. If I'm honest right now, one of the issues with these things is they're all a bit gimmicky, because the decisions that you're allowed to make are, like I say, these pointless decisions that nobody really cares about. So it does make it a bit more gimmicky, but I think I wouldn't be as skeptical as a lot of Tottenham fans are. I would give this an opportunity, but like anything, if you don't understand it and you don't want to be involved, then you're not forced to. You don't have to. So yeah, I think it does have good potential. It's just how they can manage that to,
Yeah. So if I get this right, I'm gonna try and put it in real simple for my brain to understand. So imagine everybody. Let's say it was about what color the bus would be. Everybody has the ability, right, in simplest terms, to write it on a piece of paper that can never be destroyed and that can never be amended. Is effectively what you're saying.
Yeah.
So these decisions are, there is no way that they can be, edited. So, but I agree with you. It's very unlikely that Daniel Levy or Joe Lewis, well, he's probably not Joe Lewis because he's in jail now, but Daniel Levy, would allow any kind of change at Spurs, such as, who should we spend our money on transfer-wise? Who should be the next Spurs manager? Should I be allowed to remain in my position? Nothing like that will ever happen. So, as you say, it's kind of a gimmick, but it is a business decision that they have made to be able to try and elevate Tottenham Hotspur to a bigger audience and a higher level. Is that right?
Yeah. And look, we can all be cynical and say that, this will never happen, that will never happen. But if we just quickly, and conscious of the time we've got, to talk about this and don't want to bore your users, but if we flip this slightly, so there's a company called Wagme United who own Crawley Town in League Two, right? And they're a crypto-based club, if you want to call it that now. And the decisions that are made by NFT holders. I won't get into the details of what NFT holders, but those decisions are made by NFT holders. They vote on the decision. So in principle, they vote on things like changing of manager, transfer budget, all of those different bits and pieces, right? And don't get me wrong, they've had a tough start to life. But this season, they're joint top of the league right now in League Two. So what I'm saying is, just because we're saying that this could never happen, you never know. These things could happen. These things could develop. Right now, Socios itself is a bit of a gimmicky thing. And the concept of this fan token, is just maybe a nice to have if you're a Tottenham fan, you're into crypto, bit of fun, something to do, but it's not really necessarily going to change the way your football club is run. But that doesn't mean that it never can, if that makes sense. And like you say, look at Man United right now. We want change and we can't get change, right? So if we had a fan-based system, and look at Germany. Germany have, I think you have to have 51% ownership from the fans of a club. So, they could have a blockchain-based solution that meant that every decision for that club was immutable, which is basically can't be changed on a blockchain and can never change. So I'm not saying never, but right now I can understand the skepticism from Spurs fans. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, just so that anyone's watching that isn't aware of, how this.
The other thing I would say.
Yeah. Go.
Sorry, bear in mind, right? We're talking the clubs that have got this, right? PSG, City, Arsenal, Juventus, Barcelona. So we're not like, I know that's a gimmicky thing, but we're not like Spurs are the only ones that have done this. A lot of the big and let's not be, to beat around the bush here. Clubs need to be commercial. Because if we aren't commercial clubs, the only reason Man United have survived with this Glazer ownership is because they're a commercial machine, right? Most other clubs with this ownership probably wouldn't be in the position they're in, right? So clubs have to be commercial, and Tottenham are just doing another commercial thing. I'm not saying that's right, but PSG are doing it, Arsenal are doing it, etc. So there's something about it that these clubs want to be involved in.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure Juventus is a great example, to be honest, with what's happened with them over the recent years. But I get your point. So as I was getting on, so to those that aren't aware of this partnership or what you get or how you get it, so just so that you're aware, all One Hotspur Plus members and season ticket holders get 5 fan tokens for free. I know that the Tottenham Hotspur trusts have come out and condemned the decision and said that this is not acceptable business decision from the football club, and I respect what they're trying to do and the change that they want to to be able to try and bring to this club. But I also think that, Joe is right, and this is what we'll kind of get on to, Joe, is like, if you don't understand it and you don't want to spend your money, then don't spend your money. Like, there's no obligation for you to buy these things. And for anybody that's sitting there and saying, yes, the price could go down, of course it could go down. It's no different to you putting £10 on a accumulator of football at the weekend, and you think when the bet loses, you wonder why you've lost your money. It's very simple to that as well. If you are worried about money, you don't have the money and you don't want to spend the money, then don't do it. Is that the simple way to look at it, Joe?
Yeah, and look, it's a bit like a casino, though, right? The only issue I've got, and so my first question, well, let me answer those 2 questions. Let me answer 2 points here. So the first is, why do the Tottenham Supporters Trust have a problem with it? Now, you might know the answer. I don't know the answer because I don't read what they talk about.
I think it's to do with the.
Do they have a problem with it?
Sorry, yeah.
Go on.
I think it's to do with the fact that these are volatile tokens or potentially volatile tokens, and it could have a negative impact on fan wealth, I suppose, is probably or finances. Probably, I think that's what it is. To be honest, it's difficult to know their exact reason.
Exactly right. So it's difficult to know their exact reason. The second point is, do they understand it? I'm not saying they don't, by the way. They might be like crypto experts for all I know. But do they understand what they're condemning first and foremost? Yeah. But the other thing is, one thing I do agree with is this free token thing, because whilst it's great to get free tokens, it is kind of that casino effect or that like free bet effect or whatever it. So if you get a free bet, what happens? You go on Sky Bet, you place your free bet, and then do you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden you get drawn in to spend more money, right? So I can kind of understand that point, that maybe they shouldn't give away these free tokens to the One Hotspur or whatever it's called membership, because maybe there's a risk then that somebody gets involved in something they wouldn't have otherwise got involved in. But as you've said, you don't have to buy these tokens. You don't have to sell these tokens. They're going to launch at $2. So even if you've got 5 of them, it's only $10. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would say is like, let's just be a little bit realistic about this. It's a gimmicky thing. It's not going to change the world. And if you can't afford it and don't want to do it, then you shouldn't. And crypto is only as bad as gambling in that sense. Do you know what I mean? That you could be dragged into something you can't afford to do. So yeah, that would be my only comments. And if people want to reach out and ask questions, I'm happy to answer any of those questions that they've got on crypto specifically or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other part, sorry, to finish up on that, is that from what I read, because I'm, living far away, as everyone knows from watching this show from the stadium, I don't get to many games, but apparently some of these decisions you can already make by being a One Hotspur Plus member or a season ticket holder. Now, I'm not 100% sure on what will be different by it then being partnered with Socios, and whether you can still make those decisions and help make them without being associated with Socios or having the app or anything else. But as Joe says, if you have any questions, reach out. If you're not sure and you don't want to get involved, then don't. You don't have to claim your free 5 tokens. You don't have to download the app, and you don't have to put any money into this. So only do whatever you're comfortable with doing, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like anything. Like we say, don't spend more than you can afford.
Definitely. Well, Joe, that's really, really helpful, and I think that definitely gives like an insight to some of our fans. It's actually something a little bit different than what we usually do on this channel. So we're really, really appreciative of your time. But just before you go, can you just let everybody know, how they can find you and how they can see whatever you're up to at the moment?
Yeah, sure. And I think just quickly as well, I'm really pleased that you've asked me to talk about this, because it is an important subject that fans should be aware of. And just talking about the games themselves, or you can find that sort of content anywhere, but this sort of content where we're talking about real life stuff for fans, I think is really important. So thanks for asking me to do this. In terms of finding me, you can see my Twitter handle hopefully in the name, which is Crypto091. You can find me on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn with Joe David. I post a lot of my content on there, and our business, we've got nephosgroup.co, and hopefully, Luke, you can link these. I don't know if you can in any kind of comment or whatever.
Stick it all in the bio.
And then we've got and then we've got mineraccountants.co as well. So feel free to reach out to us. If you've got any questions on this, reach out to Luke, drop some comments. I'm more than happy to help. So
perfect. Thank you very much for coming on, Joe. And as everyone knows already, you can always find me at Luke_Parklane on Twitter. But more importantly, it's at Park Lane Pod across all social medias. And make sure you are subscribing to the channel and liking the video. But as we end with every show, we'll do it the same on this show. And so we'll see you next time. And a massive come on, you Spurs.
Tottenham!